Welcome back to the channel. I'm Crypto Trend Trader, and today we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. So here we have the Kraken chart, and we got a massive move here for that weekly close, and I'm on the weekly time frame right now, and I'm going to just take a little time and rather than zooming in on what's happening right now, because we just got a big move, so it's going to take some time for the market to kind of play out and figure out a new trading range, or are we going to get continuation, etc. So right now I don't want to focus on that because there's not really any resolution there. It's not really telling us anything. What I'm going to look at is the long time frames. I want to look at a couple things. First off, I just want to look at straight up candlestick analysis, and then I want to look at moving averages and then indicators as well. So here we have for straight up just candlestick analysis. You can look at this chart and see this is the ultimate swing high. This was our ultimate swing low here, okay? But along the way we had a swing high, then we get a swing low here, high, then you come down low, high, low, high. I mean, there's lots of swing highs and swing lows inside of this pattern that can clearly be identified, and you can't argue against it. As it gets towards the end here, on the weekly time frame it's a little subjective, whatever, but then you're back at it. You got a low, you got a high, you got a low. You can pick something out along the way here, but essentially you get the high right here. So then if you want to come down and say that was our low, that was our high, and then you want to say that was our low, that was our high, then we get the dump down here. So if this was our low right now, that tells us one of two things almost indefinitely, regardless of whether or not we know. But if we're saying this is the low right now, then we're saying after that we're going to get a higher low, and then we'll get continuation to the upside, or we're going to get a higher high. So if we're saying that was our low, we're going to get either a higher low after this or a higher high. So if this was our low, the chances we got now the low and the high in the same candle is very unlikely. It's very unlikely that we would get the low and the high on a pattern like that that's been developing for a while on one candle. You know what I mean? We get the high, it takes a few candles, we get the low, it takes a few candles, we get the high, it takes a few candles, we get the low. So we should have a few candles now of continuation in whatever direction it decides to go right now. So if this was in fact the low right here, okay, and then this that we can't break above this point right here, then we're probably going to keep going down here, and then overall we can say it's just a series. It's another lower high. It's a low, it's a lower high, and then we're going to get another lower low. I mean, that's the way I look at it, just straight up candlesticks. Now if we can break now above this, if we break above this spot that we maxed that out at on that massive pump, if we break above 10.5 now, then I think what will happen is we'll get continuation, and we'll continue to the upside, and then we'll put in a high, and then we can come down and put in a higher low, etc. So that's just straight up purely looking at candlesticks. And now let's look at with moving averages and the parabolic SAR. As of now, we're still in a downtrend on the parabolic SAR on the weekly. As of now, we're on an uptrend as far as moving averages. We're above the 10, we're above the 21. All moving averages are splayed out in the correct order. So to me, this looks bullish, although the SAR is telling us that it is bearish. But if we look for a similar situation right here, that could be a fake out situation, because we actually got above price here. We couldn't quite in this situation cross it back over. So it's similar to one of these situations. We couldn't quite cross it back over, but price got above the moving averages, but then they failed. But again, you get continuation. If this ends up failing right here and does that same thing, we're going to get continuation for weeks, for months even, at that point in time. It's not just going to be a straight down candle again, or if we get continuation to the upside, it's not just going to be a straight up candle. But that's just going off purely that single time frame, looking at that. And then let's put on a couple indicators and see. So we basically got multiple sells on the big rally up here, and then finally we get the breakdown, and then on the way down we get multiple buys. So then we get the way up, we get one sell, and then we get the way down, So I mean, this really doesn't tell us a ton on the weekly. We know that we are in fact below, the histogram is below the moving average right now. It is still blue though, so we're essentially in a situation like this, similar to this, where we're below the blue, but the histogram is ticking upwards and it's green. So if we continue to sell off here, I think we would get a similar situation to that. And this was like a big dead cat bounce off of this situation. And then we would continue eventually back down in like a flag pattern, and then eventually probably get the sell off to somewhere in this range. That's purely based on this here. And again, let's look at the jewel. The jewel is going to be probably most similar to something in this range right here. It doesn't quite get the green, and it's not going to. So we don't get a ton of information. It does look similar to this right here. Poked out the bottom, came back up, didn't quite get to the purple in this case, but it does look similar to that. So again, we're not getting a ton of resolution here. But when you're looking at this on the weekly, I mean, like when this dumped down here, and then you get this big wick up and then a couple continuation, people probably thought, okay, we're going back up, but all it was really is just a lower high. Is that what we're doing now? Are we just getting a lower high? I mean, looking at it honestly, that's sort of what it looks like. But we'll see. Again, if we break above this 10-6 range, I'm going to get bullish again. And again, this market really does look bullish after that massive move and everything. Even though it had a little bit of a sell-off, but it also had a little bit of a wick too, which is a rejection from below this area. So I do like how that looks. But again, I got to see a little more resolution before I can commit to the market one way or the other. I mean, the move looks bullish, but overall, I mean, the market still looks bearish. Nothing resolved to the upside. I mean, that was most definitely a swing low. But I don't know if it was the swing low, if that makes sense, if it was the ultimate low. I don't know if it was that or if it was just one of these guys right here. It's tough to tell right now, but looking at the volume too, I mean, if you look at the volume, when we topped out, it wasn't that high in here, but this was through here. This was the volume all through this range right here, and then it tapers off all through that consolidation, and then this was through the bottom right here. Again, pretty massive volume, and then it kind of tapers on the way up and slowly picks up, and then we kind of max out right here, like maybe that could have been a top, and then we finally get our max out top here. So that would have been about the 7,000 range, and then we get the max out top about 14,000 range. And then if you look at the volume on that, that was similar to this week's breakout volume. So I mean, if we get a consolidation here and then even a sell-off, but we hold the majority of that, I would stay bullish on this. But I mean, it looks bullish to me. Here's another thing that has me semi-concerned though, as far as like the actual chart pattern and resistance, support, etc. As you can see, the green line of support is like the parabolic uptrend line, and we broke below that, but then we got back above it, so we're in good shape there. Yellow is the breakdown point and kind of like consolidation, which is kind of where we topped out here. So now we're sort of pinched in between this wedge where we were at before. It's the wedge from the breakdown, and then also like that support parabolically up. And now we're back in between it, and it looks like we're going to kind of flag out. But if you look where we topped out, we were in this channel traveling down this whole time, and we got basically towards the bottom here with these two swings here, and we shot all the way up, and we actually got a nice wick outside of the channel. But even on like the daily or the 4-hour, we weren't able to really get a close above that. So now we're showing a lot of indecision, but we haven't actually broken out of this channel, which is what I consider to be our trend, until it's not, because we've been in this channel since like June when we topped out over in here, and we've been just traveling down here in this distribution or accumulation zone, whatever you want to call it. We dropped down out of that zone. Below this blue line was like the final support of that zone. We dropped down below it, and then we shot all the way back up. But now look, that first sell-off was that red area. So we couldn't get back above that. We couldn't get back into the meat and potatoes of this zone. We couldn't get back in the main area of the trading zone. We're just in like this support zone that we were essentially finding support at when we were bottoming out inside of this triangle we formed. So now where we're at right now is we're just basically finding support in the middle of that zone. The red being the top of the zone, the yellow being the middle of the zone, and the blue being the bottom of the zone. And if this support fails and we start falling down here, I mean, we could basically expect ourselves, if we can't find support on the yellow, to find support on the blue, and that would, that's a wick area. So if we really get a close below this area, I think we can expect continued sell-off. But if we can get a breakout above this area, I think we can get continuation to the upside. And when we sold off, we basically came down. Let me go on a shorter time frame. When we sold off, we basically came down to the 0.5 off of that rally, just from the bottom there to the top of the wick there. We came down exactly to the 0.5. We came back up to the 236 after that, and then back down to the 382. So the next most likely thing that's going to happen is we're either going to test that 236, and if we break through that, we're going to get basically a test of the top. Or if we can't get above that 236, if we can't break above this swing right here on like a 4-hour, if we can't break above that, we're going to come back down and we're going to retest the 0.5. And if we can't break above that, we're going to retest the 618. And that's what looks to me like a good buy zone right now. The 618 right down here aligns with the channel, corresponds with the Fibonacci, corresponds with the uptrend support that we had. So basically that 8800 range, that's my fucking, my freaking target for accumulation here. That's my buy target to see if we're going to get a move back up here and bust out of this channel. But if we're accumulating right here and we start getting a move above here and we get a close and we start showing strength here and volumes coming in, I'm going to get bullish on this thing. And the S&P looked bullish today all day. So, but again, looking at this right here, I'm not quite ready yet to put the nail in the coffin for the bears and say that we're out of here, that we're moving to the upside. I think that this zone right here is critical. I think that move was a huge test of our moving averages and very important on in a situation like this. I think that was very important for us to come up and try to test and save that death cross. But it's not resolved yet. I mean, we could just as easily continue to the upside now and we defended that death cross, or we could sell back off and they failed to defend the death cross. And a few months from now, it's all going to look obvious. But right now, we need to wait for some kind of resolution. There's still plenty of trades to be made, but the swing trade isn't there. It's not quite there yet. So, well, there you have it. I'm Crypto Trend Trader. That's our Bitcoin chart today on the longer time frames. A little bit of a breakdown with moving averages, indicators, and candlestick patterns. Crypto Trend Trader with your Bitcoin TA signing off.